And welcome back to Vortex Cup. This is our second game of the day. You are watching Vortex Cup presented by Vancouver Ultimate. Welcome to Newton Athletic Park in Surrey, which is where this tournament is being held on the traditional, ancestral, unceded territories of the Coast Salish people. Today we have some women's ultimate going on here. We have Voltage versus Venus. Both are representing the Vortex program, so we have a little bit of a sibling versus sibling game here between Venus and Voltage. We just saw the Voltage Open in action against Nitro earlier this morning, and now we are seeing the women play. Looks like we got Voltage with the disc, throws it right to the end zone there for number 10 to catch. And looks like we have an injury right away at the start of the game. That is a tough thing there to see, especially at the start of the game. It can be a very discouraging thing to see. Of course, when an injury happens and everyone acknowledges it, you can choose to stand or you can sit on one knee. And the point still stands there for Voltage to score the first point regardless of that injury. And Venus has shown their readiness to play this next point by their players putting up their hands, signaling the Voltage players to, whenever they're ready, start the pull, get on to the next point. Quick first point there by Voltage. Unfortunate to see injuries happen, especially in the junior level, but it is the nature of sports. So the disc lands in, and the disc hit the ground and then jumped out, which means that the disc is still considered in, so that the player had to pick it up from the sideline there as opposed to centering it on the field with what we saw in the first game. Nice swing pass there to the sideline for Venus. So a couple things I'm going to be pointing out for the games going forward is the concept of home and away. If I said the disc is on the home side, it is on the side where all the players are on the sideline, as well as the VUL tent where I am currently standing. If it's away, then it's the side on the opposite there. A little bit of a miscommunication there by Venus. The receiver started running down the field for that huck, and the thrower made that signal to throw it deep, but just as she threw, she came under for that undercut instead, and causes a bit of that miscommunication there. Now Venus has a chance to get right back there on offense, get their offense moving. Looks like we are seeing horizontal offense for this particular game. The thing with horizontal offense is it's a more dynamic type of offense, which means the space is not that obvious to see. Well, the space that's most obvious to see is the deep referring to all the way down towards the end zone, which does encourage a lot of those longer shots. But if you are not looking for those deep throws, then you are relying on the players communicating with each other to make space for themselves to make cuts. It does have to keep the defense on their toes because that open space is not immediately there. Looks like we have a call in the field, but looks like it has been resolved and the disc stays with Venus there. Looking for that underspace. Venus is doing a really good job at piloting this offense with the horizontal stack, being able to create spacing for themselves here. And they are getting a lot of these passes on the upline, and a big huck there from Venus. Nice catch there by number 4, right to the end zone. That is very beautiful horizontal offense from Venus. I love to see them being able to create those spaces for each other. Depending on how the offense is run, sometimes players can get caught running into each other, which creates something, it's called the clogging, essentially, when two players get caught in the same lane that they're trying to run because they're trying to make moves. But with the way Venus does it, they're very good at timing their cuts so that no two players are running into each other. We'll see how Voltage adjusts to this kind of offense. So still very early in the game, and it is 1-1. So we'll see what Voltage can do here in this next point as they start on offense. And Venus pulls for this next point as Voltage starts on offense. It was hard to see a dedicated offense from Voltage because there was a couple of really good passes to the end zone there. It looks like they are navigating a zone offense. Good D there from the Venus player, being able to read that frisbee and go for the smackdown on the D. All right, we got Venus is up with the frisbee there. Nice undercut there, wide open. My handler looks to get it right back. It's not able to. Opts to throw it down into the end zone. And a turnover. Looks like Venus gets a chance to set up their zone defense right away. They're not waiting for Voltage to pick up and run before they set their zone, which is amazing. Oh, forcing yet another turnover there. I think Voltage definitely need to be a little bit... Oh, we have another injury set here on the field. Definitely as the game goes on, as the day goes on for all of these teams, heat is going to be a factor. So how hard you run on the field, combining with the weather getting a bit harder, and if you're not hydrating as much as your body can take, it's going to be a little bit tougher. It's always good to overpack on the water there, for sure. If you have to steal a teammate's water, go ahead. Of course, the thing with an injury sub is when the injured player does sub out for an injury sub, the other team also has the opportunity to take those subs as well if they want to. I would say 99% of the time they choose not to do it, but you never know. Sometimes something could happen, and those players might also opt to take it as well. Although regardless of the turnovers that have been occurred here by Voltage, the quality of throws they have is still pretty good. Alright, off the swing back. I can feel a breeze here. Wind is going to become a bit of a bigger factor, especially as the wind there has now made its effect on that frisbee. One of the rule of thumbs I always follow when playing, especially with wind, is you want to keep that disc as close to the ground as much as possible. The higher the disc is towards the air, the more the wind will have an effect on it. So sometimes a throw that you put a lot of power through, if it goes way too high, suddenly the power becomes way less of a factor and the wind can now take it to wherever it wants to take it. Alright, Venus has set up their zone once again. So the way the zone is set up, it is a little bit tighter and it's very focused on the positioning as opposed to just marking the players, which means that Voltage's handlers are open. I would definitely be nice to see them look to their swings a bit more there just to keep that frisbee moving as Venus runs it upline there for the upline cut from the handler to score this point, bringing it up 2-1 for Venus. And Venus and Voltage have both signaled their readiness to play this next point as Venus makes that pull. Always good rule of thumb is if you can make a pull that's past halfway point, you can set a zone up here for a bit, because a lot of the time zones have to melt after they pass halfway point. Well, we'll see if they look to melt here. Nope, they're looking to maintain this zone, as Voltage has now used that dump swing technique there that's been used by Nitro and Voltage in the game earlier this morning. Voltage is getting that frisbee over the heads of the Venus players, getting it. A bunch of fakes there from the Voltage player. Ups to go for the reset. Oh, and a turnover there. Now Venus gets a chance to play their offense as Voltage picks up. They are going right into person defense, marking all their players. We'll see how Venus once again navigates this horizontal offense. Good catch there by the Venus player. Looking for options around the field. We'll see what they find. Nice upline option there. Venus is jumping up there for some of these catches, which has been amazing to see. It's a great showcase of athleticism in Ultimate Frisbee. It's how well you can navigate the skies. Nice swing there from Venus. Center of the field. Will they look to continue it? Oh. Nice catch once again. And we have another injury. Oh, this has been a series of injuries so far in this game. Those are always tough to see. It's tough to always try to keep balancing to making sure that you're playing in a healthy and safe way, while at the same time being able to compete against players as well. It just goes to show how much they're willing to put out, how much they're putting their bodies on the line here to play the game. A lot of the times, well, accidents happen outside of our control. We don't ever want that to happen. So being able to navigate through a field where there's so many players it is a skill. It is a tough skill to learn for sure. Because part of it is knowing when to not make a play for the frisbee, or knowing when not to be so close to so many players. So as a coach, I always like to make sure that I tell my players to spread themselves out no matter what kind of offense they're running, so that they can maximize the space on the field to make their cuts. So sometimes when I'll run a vertical stack, I usually tell one of my players to, especially when we're in the end zone, is to have the back of the stack on the line, on the back of the end zone, just to maximize that space usage, because we can score anywhere on that end zone. It's a pretty big end zone for 7 players. Well, in reality, 5 or 4, depending on how many handlers you choose to run. And of course, the Venus handlers are doing a really good job moving around this field. The handlers, you're looking at point guards, the quarterbacks for basketball and football. In Frisbee, they're the ones that are distributing the frisbee to the cutters, as while the cutters look to make their space there. And Venus gets that point there over Voltage, which puts them up 3-1. But of course, even though there are these rules set for players as handlers and cutters, I always try to encourage them to diversify their skill set as much as possible, because even if they choose to be a cutter, even though they have really good throws, they can always use those to their advantage. It's always an added bonus. So I always encourage players to diversify their skill set. So just because you see yourself as a handler doesn't mean that you should be making those hard cuts. Typically things that cutters would do. It's always a good way for you to expand your skill set as a player. All right, and Voltage picks up here for this next point. Venus once again is running their zone defense. So we'll see how Voltage navigates this one. Looks for more swings this time to keep that Frisbee moving. Oh, throws it over there. Once again, talking about sort of not the weakness of having a tighter cup, but what you kind of give away when you have that. Any player that is comfortable throwing it over the heads of those players will have a slightly higher percentage shot of being able to get it on their receiver's hands there, as Venus is looking to run that horizontal offense again. Nope, they're on their vertical. Nice block there by Voltage to force that turnover. Once again, Venus is setting up that zone. 14 looks to swing it over there to the away side to number 9. Trying to find ways to navigate. Looks like that zone player, number 22 on Venus, is now looking to position herself to block those swing passes. Nice. These are nice quality throws there from Voltage, regardless of how the zone is being played. They're finding these overhead opportunities. I love that 21 is testing her athleticism there to go for that jump. Even if you don't catch a Frisbee, always go up there. Venus picks up. Good. They transition into that underpass there to number 4. Number 4 has been a very solid player for Venus so far. Having that vision, looking on the field. Good undercut there from her receiver. Short swing there, number 31. Looks to complete the swing, more on the side. And there you go, the wind's picking it up. Picked red and picked up once again by number 4. And into an upline for the score for Venus. Oh, nope, it is a score for Venus. There we go. It's tough because I always think the end zone is right where that line, that soccer net line is, but no, it's on the top end of that arc. So it's a little bit bigger than I anticipated. Putting at Venus 4-1. Something I'm noticing here between the two going into this next point is while Voltage is getting their next line going and making their adjustments on offense, you have Venus, you have everyone there listening to what the coaches are saying, because at any point it could apply to them when they are on the field. As a coach, sometimes I end up repeating myself from one line to the next, but if you have all the players there together, you can distribute the same information, and once they're on the field, they're ready to go, because that adjustment or those suggestions that the coaches make could apply to them. Most likely will apply to them. We got Venus getting ready to pull. Chances are they're going to run their zone once again. Especially with the wind now becoming a factor. That is one of the biggest reasons why you'd want to run a zone. Force those throws to be more affected by the wind, as we've seen Voltage likes to make those throws that go over people's heads, which does make the Frisbee go slightly higher, which means that wind will become a bit more of a factor. But regardless, even though that was the case, they were still getting some pretty good quality throws off. And with Voltage being on the developing side, a lot of the players on Voltage have plenty of room to grow. Well, granted, anyone who plays junior club has room to grow, but with Voltage, they have quite a few years to move their way up the ranks and perhaps eventually play at the highest level of junior ultimate, and if they choose to, go into adult. But it's a long time for them to think. And a big pull there from Venus, just around halfway point, which means that they are able to have the opportunities to play some zone. There is also a chance that Venus could choose to run their zone all the way until the end. That is not that is a strategy. Of course, most of the time teams will look to melt after they reach a certain point. Big huck there from Voltage. Paula from Venus is just waiting there for the interception, and she gets the block. I like that she catches her D so that she can get right on the offensive there. A lot of the times when players just smack down the disc to the ground, someone has to go pick up, but perhaps if it's a cutter that's going for the block and not a handler, nice read there from number 15. Right into a huck there to the end zone, and her receiver complete. Looks there, and a little bit of an overshoot there. Looked like the disc was released from her hands very late to the point where plenty of space was around her receiver for sure. Those things happen. Got a glue on her hand sometimes. Got a pretty... All right, got Venus setting up the zone, and Voltage opts for... Those are, you know what, even though the wind is picking up those throws, the Voltage players are... Those throws are going right to their intended receivers. It's amazing to see another big play here from Venus. Oh, just bounced off of the fingertips. Voltage picks up. Venus once again is running into their zone defense. We have the deep player make. There we go again. Voltage. It is going right over the heads, but this time Venus is now seeing those, and they're trying to crowd that area as much as possible to disrupt the Voltage players from getting the frisbee. And Venus scores the point once again. So there are chances on both sides. Despite what the score looks like, it hasn't necessarily always been one-sided. Voltage has had some pretty good quality chances to get that frisbee moving. The throws especially. Sometimes the best way I judge a throw is it catchable? If it's catchable, then to me, it's a good throw. And those throws are definitely catchable. And a pull from Venus to start this next point. Chances are they're probably going to put their zone once again. This wind doesn't show any signs of letting up anytime soon. We'll see how Voltage adjusts here. Picks up number 1. Oh, and this time a read from the Cup player to intercept that first pass. Good block there by number 9. Number 11 swings it to the away side. Good underpass there to continue the play. And a big hug from 44 to the end zone there. Oh, and a nice layout there to catch the Frisbee. As someone who doesn't like to lay out, it's always good to see them putting their bodies out there to keep that Frisbee alive and go for the point. I think the highlight there of that point there was that first block there on that anticipation pass by Venus. They've adjusted now their Cup to intercept more and anticipate those passes that are coming from Voltage. Usually you'd wait until the second or third pass, but that one they were already in the right position to make an attempt for that first pass. Looks like Voltage is keeping that same line on, especially if the point is relatively short. So usually if it's a clean hold or if the other team just manages to score off of a few passes, then we tend to run back the lines. You definitely want to see a bit more action for them. Sometimes clean holds will happen. Sometimes just clean offenses. Only thing that can really beat a good offense is a good defense is a really good offense. You can play the best defense you can, but if the offense just ends up being slightly better, then that'll be enough to maintain the hold. Granted, that one Voltage had 1 pass for the turnover, so that is pretty close. If it was a few passes off before the turnover, then that would be a bit of a different story. But we get to see more of what this line can do for Voltage. And as I'm here sort of listening to the sideline, which has become a lot crowded since the first game, I think couple people are playing music. I don't know if the broadcast picks it up, and I hope we don't get copyrighted for that. But it's always good to see the excitement and the fun that these players have just being here and enjoying themselves on this nice summer day. I've been on a couple tournaments where it's rained, it's hailed, and those are never fun. Granted, playing at like 25 to 30 degrees has its own set of challenges, but still, it's a nice summer day. And a pull from Venus here to start this next point. We'll see how Voltage adjusts here on their offense this time. Looks like this time Venus is opting to run a person defense. So now Voltage players are going to be more on their toes. So no matter who the receiver is going to be, there's going to be a Venus player nearby. Good catch and read there by number 21 from Voltage. Opt to pass it up there. Nice curve there to number 10. Or to number 19, sorry. I saw the 1, I thought it was 10. And it is a point there for Voltage. Those are a couple of very clean passes there from Voltage. Didn't know if I was going to see those high release passes, but it looks like they kind of keep those for when they are being zoned, because this time they are looking to get those shots right to their receivers. as clean and as close to the chest as possible, which is the easiest place for us Frisbee players to catch. And voltage pull for Venus to pick up, and here we go. We got a couple other passes off. Good read there by 26 to save that pass. Looks to complete that swing to the away side. Of course, just a quick reminder, I'm saying away side, it's the side furthest away from your point of view on the camera. Home side would be the opposite, the side that's closer to the camera and to the sidelines. So sometimes you may hear on the camera for players to say force away, force home, which essentially means they are repositioning the marks both on the disc and off the disc to make sure that the passes that they get off, the easy passes they get off, come from the side that they are wanting them to throw to, because it sets up that defender off the disc to go for a play or anticipate or intercept that block. Looks like a contested call there. Venus picks it back up from the last thrower. And Venus is running their horizontal stack. As I'm watching here, number 9 is right close to the home side, whereas the Venus player on the far side there has just cleared up that space for 25 to make that upline cut. An unfortunate turnover there on the swings. Those are always the toughest turnovers to see. Personally, I like to commit my turnovers when it's close to the other end zone, but sometimes it doesn't happen. Good timeout call there from Voltage by number 36. It puts them close to the doorstep of the end zone, which gives them the opportunity to not only hydrate, but also to set up a good offense here at the end zone. I've seen some pretty good end zone plays run. As someone who likes to create different types of running offenses, it keeps it unpredictable and keeps the defense on their toes. But keep in mind, you're always running the principle of, if you're running a vertical stack, you are looking for that open space for both the offense and the defense to have to fight for. So we're looking to see what kind of matchups we're going to look for in this upcoming timeout play from Voltage. And it looks like Voltage is, they've come off of their timeout here, and they are setting up a vertical stack here at the end zone. It's not close enough to the end zone yet. Well, they'll opt to go for 2 handlers, so they'll still have 3, which allows for options on both sides of the field here, considering that 36 is picking up the disc right there from the center. So now it's all based on how Venus is positioning themselves. Good cut there at the back of the end zone by that Voltage player. Number 4 goes for the catch. That was an amazing cut. Looking for that little jab step fake towards one side just to cut right to the other. Definitely puts the defensive player on their toes. And combining that with a great pass there from Voltage to score that point. That was an amazing sequence off of a timeout. Those are always the most satisfying things to see off of a timeout. But from my experience, especially as myself as a coach and a player, doesn't happen too often, but when you do, they're definitely celebratory. The Voltage player was just able to get right in the path of it. Hopefully haven't pointed to get it right back. Voltage is back in their zone. Good. Nice pass there. Good bid from the good. Nice pass there. Good bid from the receiver. Right back to orange hat. No jersey number. Someone's gonna roll off the hat. Oh, jersey number. Someone's gonna roll off the hat. Oh, I thought that was gonna get blocked, but that went right over number 20 point, and that puts Venus at 7-3. Good layup bid there from Venus to complete that point. I thought Voltage was going to get that block, but that throw just went right past both hands, which were both raised up to anticipate that high pass for Venus to go ahead. The teams on each side of the field. But of course, we have a little bit of a sibling rivalry here, considering they are both representing the same program. So there's going to be a lot of friendly banter and talks between the two teams, because of course they are both representing the same program, but at the same time, and a lot of them are teammates with each other from the respective high schools that they play for. But of course, it's always good to see some competitive frisbee, especially in the club level. It's a very different environment when you're playing for your respective high schools versus in club. Because usually the summertime is where we're going to choose to play higher level frisbee instead. They are here. I like it how when they've signaled their readiness to pull the frisbee, they've added a tune. Voltage picks up Swings right away with number 36. Looks right away. Voltage picks up. Swings right away with number 36. Looks right away for that next swing, which I like. They're keeping that transition moving. Keep that disc moving. For that next swing, which I like. They're keeping that transition moving. Keep that disc moving and also, more importantly, keep the defense moving. Near block there from Venus. 36 is a... Oh, it is a turnover. Oh, it is a turnover. I was going to say, that was a good shot there from Venus to throw it both over the receiver and... Or just beside. Or just beside. 86 running towards the disc to get ready to... 86 running towards the disc to get ready to play some defense. Looks like they are forcing towards the home side. As you can see, the Voltage players are positioning themselves between their checks and the home side. Nice block there from number 86 to force that turnover. All right, Voltage picks up. Venus has loosened their cup a little bit, but that has not discouraged Voltage from making those high shots. But now Venus, I think, has figured out their game. And 26 is looking for options around the field. Finds that swing across. Oh, and an unfortunate turnover. A lot of the turnovers that occurred, especially from Venus's end, they have been good looks. And a turnover there from Voltage right into my hands. Nice to see that I can get some passes off myself there, even though I am enjoying myself broadcasting here. Venus picks up. Right on the sideline where it's out. Number 11 starts with the frisbee. Nice undercut there from Venus. Making a little bit of a banana cut, which we don't typically encourage, but I will never stop someone from making a play if it works. If it works, it works. No need to fix something that's not broken. And Venus once again getting their zone ready in that same position on the home side near the end zone. We'll see how Voltage adjusts to this. Another high release shot there from Voltage. This time it's completed. Opts to go for that swing. Oh, the wind picked it up, but number 9 is able to recover it. Amazing read. Amazing read there from Voltage. Another high release shot. Oh, if that Voltage player had just stayed where she was, that would have been able to go right to her. But because number 25 went in and the throw was made behind her, it was hard for her to recover. And now Venus is playing their horizontal offense. Number 44, and well, the other Venus player right beside her doesn't have a jersey, so I don't have a number for her. But they're able to get it off on the home side sideline once again, which is where a lot of their throws have found their way. Which probably means that if Venus is going to set up their zone defense here, it's going to be the exact same setup. That's the last two offensive plays that Voltage has gotten an opportunity to play offense on. So usually, if I were approaching a zone offense like this, I would want to have 4 handlers situated, but by the way it looks like Voltage is doing, they have 3 handlers that are spread out a lot, but I think that's to accommodate for the kinds of throws that they're doing. They're looking for a lot of these higher release throws that are able to get it over the heads of the defenders to reach their receivers. We have seen a couple of successful ones there. The only thing with that is because the wind has become a factor for this game. They're going to need to do a bit of extra work to read that frisbee to make sure that it is able to get into their hands, while at the same time preventing the defense from a big huck there from Voltage. You know, fair enough. I don't blame this at all. They've gotten a lot of turnovers there near the end zone. So you know what? Put it up there. Get that offense starting a little bit further away, so that Voltage can force a turnover a little bit further away from their own end zone. Venus starts with the frisbee here. Once again, good cut there from the player directly in front. Nice block there from Voltage. They have just gained all those yards, and everyone's off to the races. Even the sideline is now chasing the disc down, looking to help their teammates as much as possible. That's both for offense and defense. Yep. Looks like they're still maintaining their zone. Good pass there, right past that foot block. Usually I'm afraid of players who tend to foot block because it shows that they are not afraid to get the block by any means necessary, but as a thrower, it means we have to be more composed and more focused. All right, we have a bit of a force home here. Oh, a near block, but a good catch from Venus. Great catch from number 9. Once again on the upline, they are off to the races. These are some very nice athletic catches they are getting. From number 15 here, fakes a couple on the upline, signaling her cutters to clear. One of the signals we do when we fake is the intention that the cutter who is making a play there, we are not able to get it to them, so it signals for them to clear. Nice break throw to number 29 for the score. So when we talk about a break throw, when you are marking a specific way and the disc is thrown past you to throw to the other side, that is considered a break throw from the thrower. And if you are the defender, we typically say you got broken, which makes it a lot tougher for the other defenders to have to adjust because suddenly the disc is on the other side. But that is a point there from Venus. Couple of really good passes here from Venus, although it was back and forth on both sides with Voltage getting a good block there past the end zone, or past the halfway point of the field for them to get their score, but Venus was able to recover and get the point back. It's interesting seeing the different types of strategies that teams have now deployed. A lot of them are very subtle, so kind of pointing out the differences with having a zone defense where the players are a little bit further away from the disc versus one where they're a little bit closer to the disc. But yeah, it's good to see all those different types of strategies. It looks like the game is over. It's been an amazing game on both sides. I love seeing Voltage's progression, even though they're more of a developmental team, and against a team like Venus where the players are a little bit stronger and more experienced. They are able to still give them a good game. And this has been Vortex Cup presented by Vancouver Ultimate. Find Ultimate programs for all ages and skill levels across Metro Vancouver at VUL.ca. Vancouver Ultimate would also like to thank their preferred apparel provider, VC Ultimate, as well as London Pub, East Van Brewing, Friction Gloves, and the team that makes this broadcast happen. My name is Flo, and I've had a lot of fun commentating these games so far. We got some more Ultimate action on the way, so I'll see you all then.